What's going on, YouTube? Back again with another video. Welcome to Big Bear Boxing Squad, episode number 5. Conversation I want to get in today is the reason why I think that George Kambosos should fight Devin Haney. Let's get into the conversation. These are the reasons why I think that George Kambosos should fight Devin Haney. They both champions. They both had good outings in both of their fights. And Devin Haney and Jojo Diaz and George Kambosos versus Teofimo. I think both of them showed, the reason why they're champions. The Teofimo fight was not a given. A lot of people had Teofimo was going to be the winner. I had George Kambosos. You just kind of see certain things, the way people looking and stuff like that. There's the reason why I picked George Kambosos. I went back and looked at some of his fights also, but I also really liked his demeanor. Actually, before the fight, I think he carried himself very, very well. I think he carried himself as a champion. You don't have to have a belt to show that you're a champion. I'm not here to say that George Kambosos don't deserve to be champion. I think he earned every right to be champion. So with that said, I think the way everything is looking in the 135-pound division, I think that George Kambosos, I think it could be a great impact on his career and also Devin Haney's career. It's not picking one fighter over the other, even though I would pick Devin Haney to actually win the fight. And there's a ton of reasons why. But not to say George Kambosos couldn't pull it off, not to say he's a bad fighter, not to say he's a fake champion. But I just think that it makes for good boxing. I think it's history. A lot of these boxers that, nowadays, everybody runs around, wants to get a belt. I kind of want to go this way. I want to pick this fighter. But back in the day, with a lot of classic fights that we used to see, for those who got to see them, even when I got a little bit older, I went back and looked at the Muhammad Ali fights and stuff like that, old Roy Jones fights. A lot of those guys was really fighting each other, especially in the 80s, man. Go back and look at a lot of the 80s champions, Sugar Ray Leonard, Hagler Hearns, all them guys, Roberto Duran, and that's just, the main names. It was a ton of champions that was fighting each other. They didn't run around when they had a belt. They wanted to fight each other. Even when Sugar Ray Leonard lost a couple times, he went right back at it. Roberto Duran went right back at it. A lot of those guys, they wanted to prove, with a couple losses or not, I want to be champion for a reason. And whether I win, lose, or draw, I want to fight the best. And a lot of those guys are always going to be remembered because they fought the best. But, in today's boxing, I think where it's going wrong at is that everybody wants to kind of keep the undefeated record. In a way, as great as Floyd Mayweather was and still is, I think he kind of, I think people took what he did and ran with it, and everybody can't be undefeated. It's okay to lose. Look at Manny Pacquiao. He's a megastar. Even in the United States, look at what he did with his career. He had 8 losses, and people still rave about his skill sets and everything else. But I just think that both guys are terrific fighters. I think they really need to showcase that against each other. That could lead to even bigger fights. Even with a loss between one of them, I think they can still come back. But, why not go for the history? Everybody want to be undisputed. Act like you want to be undisputed. That's my whole argument about this conversation in the first place is, it's great to be in a weight class and clean your weight division up and go on to the next obstacle in your journey to greatness. When you retire, you want to say, hey, I fought everybody that I possibly could at the right time. I didn't wait nobody out. Sometimes business of boxing, sometimes you gotta wait. Somebody may have a fight, somebody may be injured, so you just never know. And a lot of times, it's not always a bad thing to pick your poison. But if you want to be remembered as a great, even you could be an undisputed champion. And if you don't fight the best or defend your titles in the best way possible by fighting the best, nobody's going to remember history amongst each other. That's what you can go back and you can enjoy the wins or the losses or just the fruits of your labor. I think you can say, hey, I got all the belts and I'm still undefeated or whatever, but it's not going to mean anything if you don't fight the best. That's what this game is about. It's a young man's game, but when you're young, you have most of your ups and downs and your great moments. That way, when you get into your 40s and 50s, you can go back and you can talk about it. I think that's what's missing between these guys in today's boxing. It's too many politics in boxing right now, and with any business, that's just gonna be what it is. But I think that George Kambosos, he deserved to be unified champion, and I think that Devin Haney, I think he's a true champion. I think that his belt, he, no matter how he earned it, it wasn't his fault from what I've seen and read, and also watched from other channels and stuff like that. But despite how you win a belt, is how you keep that belt. Is how you carry yourself as a champion. I think Devin Haney, only being 23, probably about to be 24 soon. I think that he's carrying himself the way a true champion is supposed to be. He's calling out the best. He's getting to that point to where he don't care who he fight. And I love that about Devin Haney. I think Devin Haney and Shakur Stevenson show that more than any other lightweight or super lightweight. But and Tank, I'm not going to include him because I think he's just on a different mission. I think that they're doing a great job with him. I think they build him up in a great way. But I just think that Kambosos, he need to sit down on his words. And when you say you're a fighter, man, to do a business with a man, don't start backing up thinking about, oh, what if I lose? You can't think like that. I'm not saying he's thinking like that, but that's the only conclusion I can come to. I'm not even gonna lie. I didn't even know too much about George Kambosos, and I went back and looked at him. He's a really good, talented fighter. I take nothing away from him. Nobody picked him. I actually picked him. I went back and studied some of his fights. Like, okay, I think he can get T.O. But I think that was a great win for him, and I think Devin Haney had a good outing. So I think these guys need to make history. George Kambosos need to really sit down on his words and make these fights happen. But I think that it could make for one of these type of fights where we could talk about it 10 years from now. A lot of people ain't talking about that. A lot of these fighters ain't thinking like that. So what if you lose? It's just a loss. It's not the end of your life or your career. For some people it may be, but I think George Kambosos could be a good thing for the United States. But let me know what you think about this conversation. Just want to thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Big Bear Boxing Squad, episode number 5. Let me know what you think about this conversation, how we can make it grow. That's the beautiful thing about my channel, man. Everybody has a voice, so man, voice your opinion, whether you right, wrong, somebody accuse you or whatever. Anybody can voice their opinion on here. Let me know your thoughts. That's what creates good conversation, is being different. But some good news, I may start posting older fights on here where you guys can go on and look at older fighters, Roy Jones, even older Mayweather fights and stuff like that. Let me know who you want to see. And you can break those fights down for yourself, man. They just be for pure entertainment. I probably won't be talking over them, but it's just another thing to kind of push my channel out there, give you another reason to come back, keep you entertained. I don't want to bore people. I know a lot of channels, they kind of blow up and then they kind of go out. But I want to have multiple reasons why you come back and you can enjoy my content. In my style of the way I'm doing my boxing channel. But we're going to go ahead and cut this video short. But you know what I always say, go check out my clothing line at tachi.com. All my social media accounts will be down in the description below. All my IG page, well, I got 2 IG pages and I got Facebook, so please go check those things out. And I am going to create a Big Bear Boxing Squad IG page so we can get the conversation on another platform and we can make it even bigger. So stay tuned for that. I'll let you know when it's going to drop, or you can go down in the description below and see the link. But thank you for tuning in to another episode of Big Bear Boxing Squad.